a 23-year-old looked Mark Zuckerberg in the eye and turned down $3 billion in cash. The press called it the dumbest decision in Silicon Valley history. They were right that it was a mistake, but not for the reason anyone thought, because Zuckerberg didn't fly home angry, he flew home with a blueprint. And 18 months later, he used it to erase 82% of that kid's growth in a single quarter. This is the story of how the most powerful company on earth got blindsided by an app built on disappearing photos and then copied it to death. Because in 2016, Facebook wasn't a company. It was a planet, 1.7 billion people logged in every single day. The social graph was the most valuable asset in human history, not oil, not gold. Human connection, mapped, weaponized, monetized. No one could touch them. Google couldn't. Twitter couldn't. The phone carriers, the TV networks, everyone bent the knee. Mark Zuckerberg had built a machine that fed on attention and produced power. And the machine was hungry. It consumed photos. It consumed relationships. It consumed time. It consumed entire industries. The advertising market reshaped itself around Facebook's algorithm. Publishers died. Platforms lived. One platform ruled them all. And it almost got beaten. Not by a rival empire, by a ghost. Snapchat started as a weird idea from a frat house. Evan Spiegel, Bobby Murphy, Reggie Brown, 3 Stanford students who looked at the internet and saw something no one else did. Everything is permanent. That was the problem. Every post, every photo, every mistake, forever. Spiegel understood something Facebook's data hoarders couldn't grasp. Young people didn't want a museum of their lives. They wanted a phone call. They wanted something that vanished. Peekaboo launched in July 2011. The name changed to Snapchat a few months later. The premise was absurdly simple. Send a photo, it disappears. That's it. No likes, no comments, no permanent record. The tech press called it a sexting app. Investors laughed. Facebook didn't notice. They should have. Because while the empire was optimizing the feed for engagement, Snapchat was building something more dangerous than a feature. It was building a new relationship with digital reality. Ephemeral, honest, private, and teenagers couldn't get enough of it. October 2013, Evan Spiegel is 23 years old. Snapchat has maybe 10 million users. Revenue is zero. Mark Zuckerberg wants to meet. He flies Spiegel to his house in Palo Alto, shows him Facebook's new product lab, makes the pitch. We're building something big. You should join us. Translation: we're going to destroy you if you don't sell. Zuckerberg offered $3 billion, cash, Facebook stock, a seat at the table, $3 billion, for an app that made no money from a 23-year-old who dropped out of Stanford. Here's the part of the story most people forget. Spiegel didn't hesitate. He said no. Not a negotiation, not a counteroffer. No. The tech world lost its mind. The press called it the dumbest rejection in Silicon Valley history. Investors said he'd regret it forever. They were wrong. Not about the regret. About why. Zuckerberg didn't fly back to Palo Alto empty-handed. He flew back with something more dangerous than a deal. He flew back with a blueprint. December 2012. Before the rejection, before the billions, before the war, Facebook launched Poke, a Snapchat clone, barely disguised, same disappearing messages, same ephemeral photos. It lasted 2 weeks. The press eviscerated it. Users ignored it. Snapchat's downloads spiked. Facebook retreated. Poke died quietly in May 2014. Everyone called it a failure. Everyone was wrong. Poke was never meant to win. It was reconnaissance, a probe into enemy territory, a test of the defenses, a calibration shot. Zuckerberg wasn't trying to beat Snapchat with Poke. He was learning how Snapchat worked. the mechanics, the user behavior, the psychological hooks. Facebook failed publicly so it could study privately. This wasn't a defeat, this was a dissection. The empire was taking notes, and the notes filled a war room that would change everything. By 2014, Snapchat wasn't a ghost anymore. It was an invasion. Stories launched in October 2013. A chronological narrative that disappeared after 24 hours. No algorithm, no likes, just moments. It sounds small. It changed everything. Snapchat was now a broadcast platform, not just messaging, a new kind of media, 25 million users, then 50 million, then 100 million. And here's what terrified Facebook. Those users weren't new internet adopters from developing markets. They were American teenagers, the core, the foundation, the demographic that had made Facebook what it was. Internal research at Facebook showed a nightmare scenario. Teen engagement was collapsing. Time spent was plummeting. The next generation wasn't just ignoring Facebook, they were actively choosing its replacement. Facebook's own data told the story. The empire was losing the future, and the future didn't even realize it was fighting a war. But the empire had already noticed. And what it built next, behind a locked door, would rewrite the rules of the entire industry. Zuckerberg understood something most CEOs miss. The number that matters isn't revenue, it's relevance. And relevance has a smell. It smells like youth, like culture, like the next thing. When teens leave, advertisers follow. When advertisers follow, revenue collapses. When revenue collapses, the empire falls. Not in a year, not in 5, but inevitably, irreversibly. So in 2014, Zuckerberg did something extraordinary. He declared war, not publicly. Publicly, Facebook was fine, growing, dominant, internally panic, a war room formed, the best engineers redirected, the brightest product minds reassigned. The mission, neutralize the Snapchat threat. At any cost, Creative Labs launched. A skunk works inside the empire, tasked with one thing: clone Snapchat. They tried Slingshot, failed. They tried Bolt, failed. They tried Facebook Stories, failed. 3 strikes, 3 failures. A lesser leader would have stopped. Zuckerberg didn't stop. He escalated. Here's the part of the story most people forget. Facebook didn't beat Snapchat with Facebook. Facebook beat Snapchat with Instagram. Instagram was the perfect weapon. Facebook had bought it in 2012 for $1 billion. Another deal everyone called crazy, but Instagram was where the teens were migrating. Instagram was the beachhead. And in August 2016, Facebook deployed the kill shot, Instagram Stories. It wasn't inspired by Snapchat. It wasn't a redesigned version. It wasn't a different take on the concept. It was a copy, an identical copy. Same interface, same mechanics, same name. The tech press erupted. The blogs called it shameless. The critics called it desperate. Kevin Systrom, Instagram's CEO, gave the quote that should be carved into every business school's wall. They deserve all the credit. He said it publicly. He admitted it. And the admission was the weapon. Because if Stories was just a format, it wasn't a moat, it was a feature. And features can be copied. August 2nd, 2016, Instagram Stories goes live. The Snapchat team watches in silence. Their app, their innovation, their years of work, copied, pasted, deployed. But the copy wasn't the kill shot. The kill shot was the distribution. Instagram had 500 million users. Snapchat had 150 million. Instagram had Facebook's ad infrastructure. Snapchat was still building theirs. Instagram had creators, celebrities, influencers. Snapchat had teens. On day 1, Instagram Stories had more potential viewers than Snapchat's entire user base. It wasn't fair. It wasn't meant to be fair. Within 2 months, Instagram Stories hit 100 million daily users, within 8 months, it passed Snapchat's total user count. Snapchat's growth didn't just slow, it stopped. The ghost had been caught. The empire had won, not by innovating, by executing. The numbers were merciless. Snapchat's user growth dropped 82% in the quarter after Instagram Stories launched. 82%. The IPO was supposed to be Snapchat's coronation, March 2017, the largest tech IPO in years. Instead, it became a referendum on whether a single feature company could survive an empire. The stock popped. Then it bled. Facebook didn't stop at Instagram. Instagram Stories, WhatsApp Status, Messenger Day, Facebook Stories. 4 platforms, 1 feature, an encirclement. By the end of 2017, Facebook's Stories ecosystem had more users than Snapchat by a factor of 3. More than that. It had stolen Snapchat's reason to exist. The disappearing photo was no longer exclusive. The ephemeral story was no longer novel. The camera-first experience was everywhere. Snapchat had spent years building a castle. Facebook had surrounded it with identical castles, bigger castles, connected castles, and the moat? There was never a moat, just a feature. Copied, distributed, superior. That was it. That was the kill shot. When an empire surrounds you, you don't panic. Snapchat panicked. Spectacles launched in 2016, camera glasses, $130, limited drops, hype marketing. They looked cool. They sold out. Snapchat called it a hardware revolution. It was a distraction. $40 million in unsold inventory, written off, a footnote. Then came the redesign. February 2018, Snapchat separated friends from publishers, clean interface, logical structure, users revolted. 1.2 million people signed a petition to reverse it. Kylie Jenner tweeted that she didn't open Snapchat anymore. The stock dropped 7% in one day from one tweet. The redesign wasn't the wound. The wound was that Snapchat was fighting Facebook on the outside and its own users on the inside. The empire watched. The empire waited. The empire didn't redesign anything. It just kept copying, and the copies kept winning. Snapchat had one advantage. It was fast, and in panic, speed kills. Not the enemy, yourself. Snapchat didn't die. That's the strangest part of this story. Snapchat survived. It rebuilt. It pivoted to AR. It built a developer platform. It focused on its core audience and stopped chasing everyone. By 2020, it was growing again. Slowly, painfully, differently. The app that was supposed to be crushed by an empire is still here, but it's not the same. Snapchat is no longer the threat. It's no longer the future. It's no longer the obsession of a trillion-dollar competitor. It's a business, a good business, a profitable platform, but it's not an empire. The lesson isn't that Facebook won. It's not that Snapchat lost. The lesson is that innovation without distribution is a gift you give your competitor. Snapchat invented the format that now dominates social media. Stories are everywhere. They're the default. They're the standard. Snapchat did that, and Facebook got the billions. Here's the real lesson. Not about business, not about tech, about power. Every empire looks invincible until it doesn't. Facebook nearly lost the next generation because it couldn't imagine a world where permanence wasn't the goal. Snapchat nearly won because it understood something the empire forgot. Young people want to be free. Free from the record, free from the judgment, free from the algorithm. But freedom isn't a business model, and features aren't moats. The empire survived because it had one thing Snapchat didn't. Not more money, not better engineers, not superior AI, distribution. 1 billion people, already connected, already logged in, already watching. The best idea in the world means nothing if no one sees it. And the worst copy means everything if everyone does. Facebook didn't out-innovate Snapchat. Facebook out-distributed it. That's the war. That's the lesson. The only real question is this: what are you building that someone with more distribution can copy tomorrow? And what are you doing about it? If stories like this are why you're here, subscribe to Rivalry Files. There's a new war every week,